Are you ready for some tea? Some wedding tea? Well, welcome to my channel. It's Desiree here, and I'm so excited to see you. Allow me to sit this down. Well, I am back with one of these real wedding, crazy, you can't believe it happened, but it really did, all this happened type of drama. Yes, I'm back with another one of those stories for you. So let's go ahead and get started. This one I'm going to title Guest Table Interruptions. Guest Table Interruptions. Don't even try to figure out where this one is going to go. As usual, I'd like to give you some background regarding this couple. They were a more mature couple probably around my age. Let's say that, if you know how old I am, okay? They were having both their ceremony and reception at a country club in a suburb here in the Chicagoland area. They have a beautiful outdoor gazebo in which the ceremony was going to be taking place. Cocktails were going to be both indoors and outdoors, and the reception was going to be indoors in one of their beautiful ballrooms. This couple was expecting about 130, 140 wedding guests, okay? They had hired the DE team for wedding management. I'll share with you all once again, that is when a couple is coming to us and we're literally just going to implement the day for them. So we start with them about 6 to 8 weeks before the actual wedding day, in which they can go ahead and download all of their wedding information. We're going to put a timeline together for them. We're going to handle their wedding rehearsal, tie up any last minute loose ends. And then of course on wedding day, we're going to implement that day for them. And based on this guest count, there were going to be 2 of us present, myself and an assistant. Okay. I did not, before I even say it, you probably already know what I'm going to say. I did not see any issues with this couple. And let me tell you why. The bride had a corporate job, something like a project manager, okay? So she was very detailed in how she had put everything together. And when I tell you, I appreciated this woman, okay? She had, when I needed her contracts, she had all of that put together for me in a Google Doc. We talked about floor plan and layout. And although we hadn't gone over to the venue yet, she had crafted an amazing, detailed, color emphasized floor plan in which I was supposed to use. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. And then she had her guest list together. She had her wedding party information together. She was detailed, and I appreciated that. And I knew, because she was so detailed, that everything that she shared with me, I needed to make sure that it was almost as perfect as possible. I'm not scared by any means. I just knew that I had to cross-check everything to make sure all was well and that she left this wedding day smiling. All right. Well, it's now, let's come to the point in which we are going to have that first meeting. That first meeting in which we're going to talk about timeline, we're going to talk about wedding party lineup, music, all of those wonderful things. This first meeting took place with her via Zoom. All right. And I had already crafted a timeline for us to review because, once again, she had sent me all of this great detailed information. So it really allowed me to do the job that I needed to do in preparation for this meeting. So I was super excited about it. So we go through the timeline, we line up the wedding party members, we put together the songs, all of those things. Her groom even popped on. He was working at the time, but he was able to jump on for just a few minutes to show his face, to say hi, to show his support for his beautiful bride. And I was like, okay, this is a great couple. This is a great couple for a June wedding, the end of June, during that particular year. So I'm like, yes, this is going to be wonderful. And so now we come to a point within the meeting in which we need to talk about the wedding day inventory. And with the wedding day inventory, I already have a very detailed list via a spreadsheet in which I'm going to go through all of these line items of things that a couple could potentially purchase for their wedding day. So as we're going through this list, she's saying, I have this, I have that, I don't have this, I'm blah, blah, blah. And we get to the line in which I talk about centerpieces. Now, I knew in advance that this was kind of a DIY bride, okay? She said, and I shared with you all that she had crafted a really, really great floor plan that she had created in Canva. So let me let you in on how detailed and wonderful this floor plan was. Because can you see me smiling? I still like this floor plan, y'all. I'm telling y'all, this was one of the best jobs I had seen a bride do ever. Okay. So on this floor plan, she had literally the dance floor. She had all of the guest tables, the number of chairs per guest table. And when I say chairs, I'm not talking about little square boxes. She had literally put the Shivari chair picture at each of the tables with the guest name written on the chair, okay? Because she had ordered acrylic place cards that we were going to have to place at each place setting, all right? She also had the centerpieces per table. She had the linen, the napkin fold. When I tell you she was precise, she had her head table set up and how many centerpieces and candles were supposed to go there. She had where the bar was. She had where the DJ was. She did work that I didn't have to do, and I thank her for that, okay? She was very, very detailed. So now we're talking about the centerpieces. And on my spreadsheet, I literally asked, is there anything extra that you will be providing to go along with the centerpieces? Now, in advance, I kind of knew she was a DIY bride. And I told her that during this meeting, we were going to have a really in-depth conversation about the centerpieces that she was going to be providing. The reason I say that is because, one, I need to know if the DE team could even set this up the way she wants it set up. And for two, do I need to bring in an additional person to focus specifically on these centerpieces, these table arrangements, because I didn't want to have anything messed up. And I told her during this meeting, and once I learned more, is when I could really determine what needed to be done. She shared with me, Desiree, I purchased these candelabra centerpieces, all right? These candelabra centerpieces had 8 candelabras on them. They were flameless candles, okay? And we literally had to put the glass cylinder over the candle. The centerpieces were going to be already put together, already assembled. They were going to be dropped off by her son. And I says, okay, let's hold on right here. Let's start from the beginning. You say they are already assembled. And I needed to make sure that I confirmed that, because with these 8 candelabras, if they were not already assembled, that meant that there was a base and there were 8 candles that we had to either screw in, nail in, I don't know. We had to assemble them somehow, plus put the candles inside of the candelabra, plus put the glass cylinder over the candle. That was going to take time. And I let her know that if these were not already pre-assembled, I was going to have to bring someone else in to handle this job for us, because we, as the directors on that day, have to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row and that we do what needs to be done for the couple. But if these centerpieces were not put together, there was going to be a problem. She assured me that they were going to be put together. The only thing that we needed to do were to put the glass cylinders over the candles. All right. I says, great. Do me a favor. Send me an email just kind of explaining everything that needs to be done. Yes, I typed it out as well onto the spreadsheet, but I wanted her to send this over to me so that I had record of what was going to be taking place. I also asked her how old was her son and what time was he going to be dropping these items off, because at this venue, we only have 2 hours before the ceremony begins to arrive and begin setting up. She said she would have him there as soon as we arrived. Okay. I was like, okay, great. And how old is he once again? And she says he's 21. I was like, okay, great. There were literally going to only be about 10 to 12 tables in the space that were going to require these candelabras. She said that he would bring them because he had a vehicle or a truck or something that he could literally load these items in. He was going to go ahead and drop them off to me and my assistant, and then he would go back to the hotel to get dressed, take pictures, all of those things, because again, he's her son. He's going to be a part of the wedding. I said, sounds good to me. Okay. I'm not worried about it. As we end the meeting, we conclude the meeting, and she sent me an email a couple days later, pretty much outlining everything that I just shared with you all. So I felt good about it, right? I'm not having any issues. I'm not having any problems. I told her, Could you bring these candelabras or have him drop off these candelabras at such and such time? I replied back to her and told her a specific time in which he needed to drop these candelabras off, okay? I don't want no smoke on wedding day. I need to make sure that this happens and that you understand how critical it is for him to be on time. She says, I got you, Desiree. Don't worry about it. Everything is good. So let's move this thing along and come on up to wedding rehearsal. So at this venue, we have 1 hour to rehearse because they take about 3 to 4 rehearsals on the same night, which is typically a Wednesday or a Thursday night at this venue, because on the weekends, Friday through Sunday, they are hosting weddings, receptions, baby showers, social events, all of those things. Okay. And so we arrive at the rehearsal. The bride had told everyone 30 minutes before the start time so that we can ensure everyone was there on time. I said, sounds good. So I come on up to the rehearsal. I'm smiling. I got on my DE shirt. I see the bride. I see the groom. I see a few wedding party members. I'm thinking, hey, okay, this is gonna work out pretty well. Again, this is a more mature bride, a bride around my age, so I don't think we're gonna have any problems like some of my other stories. I'm like, everybody, this is gonna work out really well, really nicely. So we go ahead and get started with the rehearsal. There were a few people that were missing, and that's okay. This rehearsal was on a Thursday evening. Some of the people may have had to come from work or come from the city or whatever it may have been. And so, hey, I understand. And as I have shared before, many times I have had to rehearse with a portion of the wedding party versus the entire wedding party. So I'm okay with that. So we get to the point of now I need to bring in the parents in and get them down the aisle and know where to be seated, et cetera, et cetera. And I noticed that we had the groom's mother, his father was deceased. We had the groom's mother there, but there was no one on the bride's side. I says, hey, is all well, what's going on? And she says, well, mom was at home because the rehearsal dinner was going to be back at her house and mom was there cooking. I says, okay, no worries, pretty easy. Mom just literally is going to be escorted down the aisle, and her person who was going to escort her was here, so he knew what to do. He knew where to seat her, so I wasn't think we're going to have any problems. I says, hey, but where's your dad? Because both of her parents were still living, and she says, oh, he'll be here momentarily. Okay, cool, no problem. I'm thinking, hey, this will be easy, Dad. You got the easiest job on the planet, but the most important job, you got to bring your daughter down the aisle. Said, all right, cool. So we go on ahead, we continue on with the rehearsal. We are now at the end and her father has still not arrived. So I pulled her, I says, hey, is Dad coming? Because I can run through things with him really quickly. I'm going to be here on the venue, here at the venue site for maybe, 10, 15 more minutes. I needed to go up to the office and speak to them about a few things. And she says, yeah, he's still en route. I don't know what's going on. Let me go ahead and give him a call. Sounds good. So I leave and I head on up to the office. I see the bride coming by because her and the groom, prior to departure, they needed to drop off the final payment. I'm cool with that. I say, hey, did Dad ever come? She's like, oh, nah, he didn't make it. Tune in next week for part 2 of Guest Table Interruptions.